With the Democrat Party in shambles, the blame game continues, with some, like Nasty Pelosi, blaming old Joe for not stepping down earlier and for not holding an open primary, because then other candidates like Gavin Newsom could have come in, although Nasty is still saying that Kamala still would have won. She just would have been stronger. But what she really means is Kamala is the worst candidate they possibly could have had, and she wishes the open primary would have allowed Gavin Newsom to come in. Others, like MSNBC's ironically named Joy Reid, blames black and Latino white supremacists. That's not a joke. I'll spare you the clip. I played it in a previous video of my election coverage, so just go and check those out if you missed them. Others, however, seem to have found a focal point for their blame, which I'll get into in a moment. But first, this may be perhaps the most hilarious video to come out of the election fallout. It seems like a meme. I guess it is a meme. Unironically, not intended to be one. It's just an actual video of a Kamala Harris mural being painted over like the day after the election.
You gotta see me that one.
My girl just lost a day ago. Like, damn.
And subscribe to my channel if you're new here. We just reached 1.9 million subscribers, so welcome to all the new subs, and thanks to everybody for sharing the videos. We got to bypass YouTube's visibility filter and shadow banning manually, so appreciate the support. This time around, they're very upset at podcasters, and especially Twitter, since Elon Musk bought it, and they didn't censor certain stories like they did back in 2020 with the Hunter Biden laptop October surprise.
And so one thing that I think stands out also, we can't have this conversation, a little bit to your point, Dana, is that maybe it's not so much Democrats' policies or messaging or the words that they use specifically, but there is an entire right-wing media ecosystem that doesn't exist on the left, and it does not exist in the center or mainstream, and people are getting their information in very different ways now. And Donald Trump and Republicans and Elon Musk and Joe Rogan know exactly how to reach Americans where they are, regardless of age and demographic, and that played a big role in this because of the fact of like that, whether it was disinformation, misinformation, or different propaganda that they were feeding to the American public that made them feel the way they did, and the American public felt as though that they were being heard by Donald Trump.
So according to her, it wasn't the Democrat policies, it was misinformation and propaganda that people heard through podcasts and on Twitter. It had nothing to do with the fact that the Democrats went insanely woke, that they welcomed, encouraged, and facilitated our country to be invaded by millions of illegal aliens, and then stole our tax dollars in order to literally put them up in 4-star hotels, and then brown small towns across the country by shipping them all over and paying for them to stay. It wasn't that Christians and conservatives finally got sick of the LGBTQ propaganda being shoved down their throat and mandatory celebrations at sports stadiums and in schools and in businesses. It was those pesky podcasters and those people tweeting on Twitter. And notice how she said there's nothing like it on the left or in the mainstream, as if the mainstream media and Hollywood and academia and government institutions and all big tech platforms except for Twitter aren't completely dominated and controlled and manipulated by the left. Jimmy Kimmel has been able to pull himself together a little bit. You probably saw the clips of him literally crying the day after Election Day, and he too is blaming Elon Musk for the whole thing.
Last night I shared some of my thoughts and feelings about what happened and how much I'm going to miss democracy and whatnot. And I heard from a lot of people about it, but none more prominent than the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, who this morning tweeted, Kimmel is an insufferable nonsense propaganda puppet, which at least my children like me, you know, it's...
One of Elon's sons, if you don't know, is now identifying as a woman and changed their name and is a literal communist and doesn't want to have anything to do with Elon. So that's a pretty low blow there by Kimmel.
You bought Twitter. You bought a social media platform that is literally a propaganda machine. Let me tell you something. If I spent 2 weeks trying to come up with a 4-word description of Elon Musk, I don't think I could do better than insufferable nonsense propaganda puppet. This guy, the New York Times is propaganda, the Washington Post is propaganda, the Atlantic is propaganda, NPR is propaganda, AP stands for Associated Propaganda. Good one, Broseph. Everything is propaganda.
Yes, it is, which is why one of the reasons Donald Trump did win is because he went on a bunch of big podcasts and had lengthy interviews with independent media outlets. Here's Laura Trump on Patrick Bet-David's show, which I do believe Donald Trump also did, talking about how Barron Trump, his now freshman in college son, was instrumental in convincing him to do some of these podcasts.
There have been many times I've been traveling over the course of the campaign with my father-in-law in the car with him going places, and Barron will call and he'll say, Dad, I have an idea as to how you can get more votes. And it'll be, you need to go meet, go to this baseball stadium or do this, whatever. Wow. He's always throwing ideas out there. And so, we got to give Barron some serious credit.
And Donald Trump gave Barron some credit when he sat down with Joe Rogan, saying this.
So I have a son who's very smart and tall, Barron, right? And he knows all about you. He knows about guys I never heard of. He said, Dad, you don't know how big they are. They're big. He told me how big. I said, who the hell is he? Like Ross. I did. He said, Dad, he's a great guy. I mean, guys that are doing, it's a whole new world out there.
Here's Bill Maher, whose Trump derangement syndrome has thankfully went into most likely what is just a temporary remission.
All right. Do the Democrats need a social media platform, this is for you, John, of their own to combat the Republican influence on Twitter?
They already do. It's called Threads. It's called Facebook. It's called TikTok. It's called Snapchat. It's called every platform except for Twitter.
Well, I don't know, but Twitter, it's funny. It used to be completely left. Then Elon said, I'm going to take it over, so it's going to be 50-50 right down the middle. He didn't do that. Huh. It just switched completely. So I don't know. It's terrible that
Switching completely meaning Elon unbanned the tens of thousands of right-wing accounts that the old leadership under Jack Dorsey censored. So here is the clown's answer, who is a regular contributor on MSNBC, who has denounced me on MSNBC in the past, by the way.
Not only is Twitter not a real place, but it's become a toxic cesspool filled with nothing, not about right, it's not about conservative, it's just filled with misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories. So.
Oh, but you could get trustworthy information from CNN and MSNBC.
I would rather not have the left replicate that if that's what's required. I think the deeper question that the question's getting at is that if you look at the data in this election.
So they're trying to sound smart. If you look at the data, Donald Trump crushed it in all demographics because the American people thankfully saw through your lies.
The amount of reach of all of these alternative, I'm talking about the whole podcast space mostly, but also social media. The interviews that Trump did, not starting with Rogan, but Theo Vaughn and all of these other things he did, incredible reach compared to old mainstream media, right? Where, the number of people that Kamala Harris reached by going and talk to Brett Baer is a tiny fraction of, if you look at the average, not just the number of downloads, but then the social media plays on YouTube and other places.
Okay, thank you, Captain Obvious. This was old news back in 2016. The only downside of Donald Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton in 2016 was the soon-to-be algorithm changes that we all remember when YouTube then started boosting mainstream content in the search results, suppressing independent channels in the recommended on people's homepages, which is why my channel went from about 30% of the views from non-subscribed, which was pretty much the standard, to about 3%. But this victory was so devastating, and there were so many demographics that the Democrats thought that they had in the bag that went for Donald Trump. I don't know what they're going to do. They may finally, hopefully, have to just admit that their censorship and their propaganda and their ideas failed. There are plenty more meltdowns to get to. Women are now getting hysterectomies because Donald Trump won. The Democrats are trying to force Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor to step down so that old Joe can nominate a replacement out of concerns that she may resign or have some issue come up later in the next few years when there is a Republican in office, and then Donald Trump or J.D. Vance will then get to appoint her replacement. Mark Cuban appears to have deleted every tweet referencing Kamala Harris in a desperate attempt to try to memory hole the idiocy that he has been up to for the last few months. So subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and be sure to check back on a regular basis. Thanks to everyone for putting me over the top. 1.9 million subscribers. Now the long and difficult road to 2 million So thanks again. Stay tuned, and I will see you soon.